Okay. So in the last class, we started off with this question, but we could not complete this, right? So today is another day when we'll do questions of economic efficiency, right? So we're doing essay questions of economic efficiency, right? So far we have done one essay question that we completed in yesterday's class, right? And today we are doing, today we'll start off with this second question, right? So if you can see my screen, you can read question 6. So moving forward, obviously, since we have discussed the first question in detail, we know what all these different topics are, what these different concepts are, right? So from here onwards, we will be discussing more how to, what components to be included in your answer, right? So we'll not discuss all the answer in detail, right? Because we already know the topics and the concepts that are involved. We'll just talk about, we'll just look at, we'll just look at we'll just discuss the main things that need to be included in the question. Okay, now the question here says, discuss the assertion that the market system is not able to allocate resources efficiently, right? So discuss, right? Right, so discuss the assertion that market system is not able to allocate resources efficiently, right? Okay, now what do you think, what needs to be written as an answer to this, right? So first of all, what you need to know is what the market system is, right? So the market system is, we know this, and we have like market system is the process of market forces, right? The process, the price mechanism, right? Where free markets means it's the market forces of demand and supply that determine what will be produced, how will be produced, and for whom will be produced, right? And who's deciding this? Private businesses, because in free markets, we know most of the resources are owned by the private businesses. So it's those businesses that need to decide what to produce and so on, obviously based on consumer demand, right? What are consumers' preferences, right? So this is what the market system is. Now the question is asking that market system is not able to allocate resources efficiently. So you have to discuss both sides of the argument. So what you have to do is tell of situations and scenarios where resources will be utilized efficiently by the market, and tell about situations and scenarios where resources will not be efficiently used by the market, right? Are you getting me or not, students? So this is a fairly simple question, right? Which is just asking you, discuss the assertion that market system is not able to allocate resources efficiently. So scenarios where efficiency exists and market system efficiently allocates resources, and scenarios where efficiency doesn't exist, and therefore the market fails and market doesn't allocate resources efficiently, right? Now, first of all, you'll start your answer by defining what market system is, right? So market system is, right, free markets where resources are owned by the private sector, and therefore it's the private businesses, that decide what to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce, right? Free market where resources are privately owned, and therefore it's the private sector, privately owned and therefore it is private sector that decides on resource allocation. Private sector that decides on resource allocation. Hassan, just give me a second. Let me show you the question that we're discussing. So quick overview. We have completed our syllabus once, and we are doing, crash course, right? And the way we are doing this crash course is basically we'll choose a topic every day, right? Today we are doing economic efficiency. So what do we do in each of our classes? We do, first of all, quick recap of all the major concepts that are part of this topic, economic efficiency. And then we'll do Then we do a couple of essay questions related to that topic so that we get a clear idea of what type of questions are asked on the exam, how you need to answer those, and how marks are allocated, and so on and so forth, right? How the marking scheme works. Okay. Now, the question that we're discussing in today's class is this question number 6, which says, discuss the assertion that market system is not able to allocate resources efficiently, right? So far what I've told students is that first thing that you need to explain in this question is that what is market system? What is market system? So market system is not something new, right? It's the free market that we talk about, that we know of from our AS economics, right? So what's free market? Free market is where resources are privately owned. It's the private sector that's more dominant in an economy, and therefore it's the private sector deciding what to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce, right? Easy. Okay. Now, this question is challenging or asking you that whether resources are efficiently allocated by the private sector or not, right? So to do that, right, and do remember that all these essay questions will be, all these essay questions will be asking you to discuss both sides of the argument, right? Yes and no, right? So when we say yes, what we need to tell in this question is that when resources will be efficiently utilized by the private sector, and when we say no, we will comment and we will discuss scenarios and situations where resources are not efficiently utilized. Right? Easy. We good on this? Okay. Now let's talk about first, let's compile the list for yes, right? In which situations resources are efficiently utilized by the private sector? Do you guys know? In which situations are resources privately, are resources efficiently used by the private sector, right? Exactly. Excellent. So the first example that we'll talk about is of perfect competition, right? We know perfect competition has complete economic efficiency. So we'll talk about this, right? So this is where economic efficiency exists, right? And when we talk about no part, right? So then there's a long list. There's obviously monopoly, opposite of perfect competition, where there's a single producer. And we do know that in monopoly, resources are not efficiently allocated. Then we'll talk about externalities, right? We did talk about this, about externalities in the last class as well. And we'll talk about again, in externalities, resources are not allocated, are not efficiently allocated, right? Then you have cases of merit and demerit goods, where either there is underproduction or there is overproduction. In demerit goods, we know that there will be overproduction of demerit goods, and in case of merit goods, there is, in case of demerit and merit goods, right? And in case of merit goods, there's under production, right? So these are some cases that we will talk about, right? Easy. So in these kinds of questions, just a second. So in these kinds of questions, we have to discuss about all kinds of market structures. Okay, and that's a good idea. That's a good question. Preet, technically neither, except for perfect competition, no other market structure. So basically, there are a total of 4 market structures that are part of our syllabus, right? Perfect competition, monopoly, oligopoly, and monopolistic competition, right? So perfect competition, monopoly, oligopoly, and monopolistic competition. So except for perfect competition, no other market structure is efficient, right? No other market structure is economically efficient. But we will not talk about all of these market structures, or at least not in detail. I mean, you can mention in your question that except for except for perfect competition, no other market structure has economic efficiency, but you don't need to make detailed graphs or to do detailed analysis, because when we do discuss monopoly, we have already kind of explained the examiner that what market structure, what market failure looks like, right? So you don't need to, you can mention that in oligopoly and in monopolistic competition, economic efficiency doesn't exist, but you don't need to go in detail, or you don't need to make their graphs and explain in detail, right? You can just mention it briefly. Okay. Right. I'll give you, Hassan, I'll give you an overview of our externalities. Basically, externalities are when someone is doing something and that is causing a negative or a positive effect on the third party, on someone else, right? So every time you drive or anyone drives their car, the air pollution that it causes is harmful for the society, for the environment. We know this entire research, global warming and things like that, right? So those other people who are just out on the road, living in that community, are being negatively affected due to more cars on the road, right? So that's a negative externality. Pollution is a negative externality, right? Drunk driving is negative externality because that increases the chances of car accidents, and I mean, someone else's life is in danger because of someone else's actions, right? So that's also negative externality. Also include oligopoly and monopolistic competition, right? Preet, did I answer your question? Right? So you can definitely include in your answer, but you don't need to do a detailed analysis of these two market structures, right? Just briefly mention that, along with monopoly, these market structures, which are oligopoly and monopolistic competition, also don't have economic efficiency. That would be enough. Easy, students? Okay, any confusion? So now let's move forward with this question. Let's look at this question one more time, right? Let's look at this question one more time and then move forward, right? So the question is asking you something very simple. Discuss the assertion that market system is not able to allocate resources efficiently. So you have to discuss both sides, where market system is allocating resources efficiently and when market structure, when market system is not allocating resources efficiently. So we have made our roadmap that in the yes part, we'll talk about perfect competition, right? And then there is another scenario as well, and that is when no market failure exists. When no market failure, right? So, because what is market failure? Market failure is what I have listed in this, on this side over here, when no market failure exists, right? So in those scenarios, market system is able to allocate resources efficiently. But yes, when there is a market failure, then, and what are the case of market failure? These are the case of market failure. When there will be a market failure, then obviously the market will not be able to allocate resources efficiently. How so? That's what we're about to look at. Easy. Okay. Now quickly, students. So if you have any confusion in any of these, uh, concepts, then only ask me those, right? So, I mean, we did look in detail uh, the graph of perfect competition, and I'm assuming that that is clear. If in case it's not, you can ask me again. I'll explain you again, right? Similarly, we also talked in detail uh, of about monopoly, and we did look at its graph. So if that's clear, good. If not, I can explain you again, right? Easy, right? So do you want me to explain these concepts again, or do you think you are good enough? Like, right? Because if this is good, then we can directly move to the externalities. In fact, we also discussed this one as well, but I mean, we can do that. So you have to tell me how much you want me to go in detail with each of these concepts. Yeah, waiting for your reply.
I would like to understand monopoly, oligopoly, and perfect competition
Okay,
prior.
okay, okay, okay. So the idea is, you asked me about the labor market. Yeah, okay. So that is all part of unit 2. Amna, that's all part of unit 2. So when you come to that part, I'll explain you in detail because we haven't done its revision yet, right? So this is the very first topic that we're doing, economic efficiency. So when you come to unit 2, in which we'll do in detail these market structures, that's where we'll talk about oligopoly and monopolistic competition. So as far as economic efficiency topic is concerned, so you just need to know the two market structures, which is perfect competition and monopoly, right? So we'll do that in detail, in fact, in the very next topic. So that's why I think about this. So you did send me a topic, Amna. Now this is what you need to think about, right? Either we can hop from topic to topic, right? Or we can just go in order. But what I'm guessing right now, that you don't have, good understanding of the other topics as well. So how about we go in order? So for this crash course of ours, right, students, listen to this. We'll be going in order, right? So we are covering unit 1 right now. Then in the upcoming classes, we'll start off with unit 2, where we'll talk about all these market structures and all that thing, right? Then we'll move to unit 3, which is about the labor market and all that. And then we'll move to macroeconomics and so on, right? Sounds good? Okay, very nice. Okay, now students, this is, and Hassan, since you have just joined us, so I don't have much idea of how much you know and how much you don't, right? So you have to keep telling me during the classes that which topics you, want to understand. Okay, now very quick recap, right? So you'll first of all make the graph for the perfect competition in this question, right? So you'll show, I'm showing you one more time, right? Students, have a look at this, right? So perfect competition, you will show on the y-axis, like always, you have the price and the cost, right? So price and cost goes on the y-axis. You have output or quantity, right, on the x-axis, right? So you have output on the x-axis, and first thing that you need to draw on the graph is a straight horizontal demand curve, right? So it's a straight horizontal demand curve like this, right? And what it shows us that how much will be the price of each unit of the good, let's say 100 rupees or 200 rupees or whatever, right? Then this is also your demand curve for the firm. This is also the demand curve, and this shows you the marginal. This shows you the marginal revenue. Easy, right? Then two more graphs that you need to add, right, is marginal cost curve, right, which is J-shaped graph like this. And then the third and the last one that you need to add is of average total cost, which looks like this, right? Which looks like this. Just a second, takes a lot of effort, right? So it's somewhere tangent, right? It's tangent to your demand curve. Got it? Okay. Now think about this. Where is the profit maximizing? Right. Yes, this is the graph for perfect competition, Amna. Okay, Hassan, thank you for letting me know. Yeah, so you do watch those lectures. That will really help you, because over there things will be in much more detail. But obviously, if you have any questions or specific questions, those questions will be answered in the live class, right? So keep watching those lectures outside the classes, and those will help you a lot. But obviously, coming to the class will help, because you can then ask your questions and all that. Okay, yeah. So Amna, this is the graph for perfect competition, right? So we did talk about that you will have perfectly elastic demand curve. That's why it's a straight horizontal line like this, right? Then you have this marginal cost graph, which is J-shaped, right? And then you have your average total cost, which is U-shaped graph. Now we do know that the profit maximization quantity for any business, where's the profit maximization quantity, right? Where the marginal cost equals marginal revenue, where the orange and the purple line, right? Where the orange and the purple line are intersecting, that's the point where marginal revenue is equals to marginal cost. So you bring a dotted line down and you label it as QP, which means it's the profit maximization quantity, right? Okay, then this is your profit maximization quantity. Just a second, let me try to remake this ATC one more time so that it's better. Right, something like this, right? Okay, let's assume it's touching the purple line, right? Okay, now where MC equals MR, students, please remember this. I mean, because a small mistake here can, confuse you. Okay, so where marginal revenue of a business, where the marginal revenue curve of a business intersects with its marginal cost curve, that is its profit maximization quantity for all businesses, whether that be monopoly, whether that be perfect competition, whether that be oligopoly, whether that be monopolistic competition, right? So we did see that this orange curve is your marginal cost. This purple curve is your marginal revenue. So the two are intersecting over here. I brought the dotted line down and I label it as QP, profit maximization quantity. Now, the next thing that you need to know is your allocatively efficient output level. The allocatively efficient output level is where marginal cost is equals to the price, right? So again, this is the same line for price. The same horizontal line is for price, right? And this is cutting with your marginal cost again at this point. This is cutting with your marginal cost at this point. So again, this same quantity, which is your profit maximization quantity, is also your allocatively efficient output level. This is also your allocatively efficient output level. Got it? Right? Now, if you see that this is the point of profit maximization and your point of allocative efficiency, which shows what? Which shows that firm in perfect competition will be allocatively efficient, right? The very idea that your profit maximization quantity, right? Profit maximization quantity is coinciding with your allocatively efficient output level, right? That means that firm in perfect competition will be allocatively efficient, right? So have a look at this. Perfect competition coincides with its allocatively efficient output level. Therefore, firms in perfect competition will be allocatively efficient. Right? Easy? Any confusion? Firms in perfect competition will be allocatively efficient. That's all what you need to remember, right? Okay, now we'll move to which we are about to look at. Now we are about to look at the graph for monopoly, and you'll see that for monopoly, the profit maximization output doesn't coincide with its allocatively efficient output level. I repeat, in monopoly, unlike perfect competition, the profit maximization quantity will not coincide with its allocatively efficient output level. That's why firms in monopoly or monopoly is not allocatively efficient. Now let's move forward and let's quickly have a look at the graph for monopoly one more time, right? So students, think about this. So we'll make the graph for monopoly, right? Okay, so on the y-axis, you have price / cost, just like any other market structure graph, right? So price and cost goes on the y-axis. You have output of the good on the x-axis, right? Okay, then what do you need to do? Then you first thing that you need to draw on this graph is the downward sloping demand curve, right? So this is D equals P. Why am I writing it D equals P? Because this demand curve shows you the price at every point. So if I choose any random point, I did tell you, right? If I choose any random point on this demand curve, what will this show us? This will show that how much quantity is being demanded at certain price levels. So if 100 is the demand for the product, then you have to sell it, let's say at $8 or $7 or whatever, right? And when you move on a point up on the demand curve, obviously, then we do know that prices increase. So from $8, let's say, that goes up to $10 and lesser quantity will be demanded. So that's why I've written it as demand equals D equals P. Easy? Any confusion so far, students? This, right? Okay, now this is the demand curve. Now the shape of marginal revenue will also be straight downward sloping line, but that will lie to the left of it. Now again, unlike perfect competition, where the marginal revenue was the same as the demand curve. And again, if these things are causing you confusion, that why in perfect competition, the three things were the same. The price was the same, the demand was the same, the marginal revenue was the same, right? So we will talk about this in the next unit when we talk about the types of costs. So we'll talk about the types of cost and firm behavior in unit 2. That's where we'll talk about why the shape of demand curve is like this in perfect competition, but the demand for demand curve in monopoly is a downward sloping graph, just like the usual demand curve that we have always seen. Easy? Students, are you following me? Okay. Now, as far as the cost graphs are concerned, right? So the shape of cost graphs are always same, regardless of the business we are looking at. So regardless of the business, right, the cost graphs look the same, right? The cost graphs are always the same. The shape is same for all businesses, whether that be perfect competition, monopoly, or any other market structure, right? So you can see for yourself that marginal cost was J-shaped graph in perfect competition, and so it is in monopoly, and ATC was U-shaped graph, and so it is U-shaped in monopoly as well. Easy, students, are you following me? Okay. Now, again, we'll do the same analysis for monopoly like we did for perfect competition. So where the marginal cost is equals marginal revenue, that is your profit maximization quantity. So the first thing that we need to do is to identify MC, identify MR, where green and purple lines are intersecting, that's your profit maximization quantity. So you bring this dotted line down and you label it as QP. Easy? Okay. Now, is this coinciding with your allocatively efficient output level? And where is allocatively efficient output level? I did tell you where price is equals to marginal cost. So which graph is showing you the price? This demand curve. And where's the marginal cost? This green line. So the pink and the green line are intersecting at this point. So you bring this dotted line down and you label it as QA because this is your allocatively efficient output level. Now, allocatively efficient output level for monopoly, you can see is higher than its profit maximization level. Yes or no? The allocatively efficient output level is higher in monopoly compared to its profit maximization quantity, which means what? Which means that monopoly will never produce at this output level. So let's say this represents an output level of 500 units and this QP, which is profit maximization output, is representing an output level of 400. Monopoly will not want to produce at 500 just because it's efficient. No. How do producers think about this? Producers are strictly about profit maximization, right? So they will want to produce at level which is maximizing profit and not, the one that is efficient. Just give me a second. Right. Is this clear? Students, is it making sense? So listen to this one more time. Private businesses don't care about profit. Sorry, they don't care about efficiency. So they don't care how much is the allocatively efficient output level. What they care about is their own profit. So therefore, this private business will produce at profit maximization level, which maximizes their profit rather than what is allocatively efficient. Students, is it making sense? If there is any confusion, please ask me. Amna, is it clear? Preet? Right? So if you're good, then move forward. So that is how we have shown that monopoly, that is what we were trying to prove in this question. Yes or no? That monopoly is a situation where market system will not allocate resources efficiently, and we've just seen they are underproducing. Monopoly is underproducing. It's not producing at the level which is allocatively efficient. Whereas we have also shown that in perfect competition, it will be efficient allocation of resources that we have just shown through the graph. Easy? Confusion? Anything not clear? Anything you want to ask me? Right? Good on this, students? Okay. Now, if this is good, then we'll keep moving forward, right? Okay. Now, next thing you need to know is the graph for externalities. I did tell you, right? I'll quickly show you one more time, right? Okay. Now, think about this. So you have, right? Um, what are externalities, right? So externalities, I did tell you, is when someone is doing something that is having a positive or a negative effect on the third party, right? So you have price slash cost on the y-axis, you have output on the x-axis, right? Okay. Now, the idea here is what you need to draw on the graph, right? First thing, downward sloping will be your private benefit and upward sloping will be your, sorry, upward sloping will be your private cost. Now, what marginal private cost is upward sloping, marginal private benefit is downward sloping. Now, before we jump onto this, think about this. One thing that you need to know about externalities, that there is social cost and social benefit, and then there's private cost and private benefit, right? Now, social meaning, which is related to entire society, right? So when I say what's the social cost of let's say smoking, right? So that will not only include the harmful effect that smokers have when they smoke, right? But that will also include the other harmful effects of smoking which other people face even though they don't smoke, right? And that's known as externality, negative externality, or external cost, as we say, right? So think about this, students. Listen to this one more time, right? Because this is, if this is not clear, then this keeps causing confusion again and again, right? Social cost of smoking. What's the cost that society pays from certain people smoking in that society, right? Obviously, that is divided into parts. One, the person who's smoking faces, right? The cost that the smoker faces, that's private cost, private to that person, right? But then there are some cost of smoking that other people also pay, right? What happens when you are sitting around someone else who's smoking, right? So you inhale that smoke, that's passive smoking, and that's harmful for you, and that's a cost that you have faced even though you were not directly part of that decision, right? Okay, so when you add external cost and private cost up, you get social cost. Similarly, when you think of social benefit, that's the total benefit that society gets from any transaction, any activity, right? And again, social benefit is made up of private benefit, the person who is directly involved in that decision, plus external benefit, which is also known as positive externality. So external benefit is also known as positive externality, and external cost is also known as negative externality. Students, are you getting hold of these terms, right? Okay, now example of social benefit, think of COVID vaccination, right? So when I get my COVID vaccination, or anyone, right, they are safe from catching COVID, right? Or they are lesser chance of catching COVID. Therefore, it's their private benefit only to them. But since they keep other people also safe, right? Because COVID is a disease which could be caught by other people from you, right? So those other people's benefit, right? Or they staying safe from COVID is their external benefit. So when you add external benefit to private benefit, you get social benefit. Easy? We good on this? So far on this graph, we have only shown marginal. Marginal means additional. So if this is a word that's not yet clear to you, please remember marginal means additional, right? Additional benefit and additional cost, right? So that's what marginal means. So upward sloping is your marginal private cost, downward sloping is your marginal private benefit. Where private benefit and private cost intersect, right? That is the quantity that market will consume. That's where the market will consume, like individuals, people like you and me, right? So every time we have to decide whether should we use our car or not, we only look at our own cost and our own benefit. We don't look at someone else's cost or someone else's benefit. Are you getting me? How many times did I consider before driving my car that, you know, it will cause pollution in the society, right? I don't care much about it. Yes or no? Right? Is it making sense, students? Because I don't directly pay for the pollution. So where my benefit of using my car is equals to my cost of using my car, which is fuel expense, because fuel expense is something that I directly pay for out of my own pocket, right? So where my private cost and private benefit are equal, that's where I will decide how much to consume, right? Easy. Good on this? Okay. But since car consumption causes pollution, therefore, when I add pollution to this, right? When I add pollution, so your marginal social cost will go up, because what's happening over here, students? Pollution is also being added. Now, pollution is also being added, right? So it will shift the graph up. Give me a second. Hello. Okay. So is this clear? Okay. Now, when you add external cost, which is pollution, right? So your social cost increases, right? Now, this is your social cost, this orange graph, and we are assuming that there's no external benefit of me having my car, right? Like, I mean, no one else gets a benefit of my car, right? That's why external benefit is zero. Because what could have been an external benefit? Let's say if I give a free ride to my friends, family, and so on, which I do, but I mean, just let's keep things simple and easy, right? So let's assume that there is no such thing that exists. So therefore, private benefit is just equal to social benefit. Social benefit is just equal to private benefit, because this component is zero. This doesn't exist. Easy. You good on this? Right? Now, where the social benefit of this decision is equals to social cost, that is where the society should consume. That's where the society should consume. So you bring this dotted line down and you label it as QS, socially desirable. S stands for socially desirable. I mean, you can also, in fact, on your exam, you should mention to the examiner that what do you mean by these notations, right? So socially desirable quantity, right? Socially desirable quantity, and uh, QM is quantity which the market is consuming, right? QM, quantity which market is consuming, right? Easy. Okay, now think about this. Looking at this graph, can you tell me what's happening? Is there overconsumption of the product or underconsumption, right? So private cars was the example that we were taking in this case, right? So is there overconsumption of private cars or is there underconsumption of private cars? Where's the market consuming? Market is consuming at this point, right? Which is higher. Market is consuming at this point, which is higher than QS, because obviously as you move right on the x-axis, that's where the quantity increases, right? So QM is to the right of QS. That's why market is consuming more than what's socially desirable, right? So therefore, it means that there's overconsumption of private cars, which we do see, which we do notice in our countries as well, right? Now, to stop this from happening or to reduce this problem, what will the government do, right? I did tell you, right? So government will impose taxes, right, on fuel, let's say, right? Pollution tax or something of the sort. So when government imposes tax on the fuel, that increases fuel prices, which means that your marginal private cost will shift to your marginal social cost, right? Your marginal private cost will switch to your marginal social cost. It will shift leftwards and automatically your consumption will come down from QM to QS, right? It will come down from QM to QS. Any confusion so far, students? Okay. Another thing that I wanted to mention one more time, right? Some students asked me. So on an exam, if exam says, right, if the question says with the help of graph, only then you have to make the graph. If it doesn't say with the help of a graph, right, then there are no marks reserved for it. So even if you don't draw the graphs, you should be fine with it, right? Now let's quickly look at the graph. In fact, the class is about to end. How about you rejoin with the same link? So I'm ending the class, but the same link that I've shared in the group, kindly rejoin, right? And then we'll continue.